Hello and welcome to another video from oorail. This video is a quick October layout update. It's going to be the first of a couple this month, and basically I just wanted to show you the progress I made over the weekend, especially since there was quite a lot of interest in the back scenes. So I went ahead and decided to just go ahead and stick the back scenes to the wall this weekend, and it wasn't too bad. I did it all on Saturday, and there's exactly 4 sections of back scene here, and each one took between about 20 and 30 minutes to install. What I did was after I had it all blue tacked into position, I realized that the baseboard, while it's same distance from the top of the baseboard to the floor, my actual roof of my basement here, or else the floor of the basement, one of the two, isn't quite square with the rest of the house. So it's quite possible, knowing the folks that built the house, that my house isn't square, but basically what this left was a bit of a gap at the bottom here. So I had a choice whether I lined up along the top, or if I tried to line it up with the baseboard. Lining it with the baseboard didn't really work out too well, so I decided just to line it with the top, and then just it leaves a bit of a gap along the bottom here, but not too big of a gap, and it actually worked to my advantage, as I'll explain here in a little bit. But basically, once it was blue tacked and I was happy with it, I started off in the far corner here. I removed the blue tack and basically repositioned the blue tack about at the top and the bottom, probably about a foot and a half in, so about a third of the way down the back scene. And then what I did was I basically rolled this back up to that point, and then I cleaned the wall, make sure there's no blue tack residue, and then I basically peeled the back off about an inch from the end, 2 inches from the end. Got that anchored and lined up with the corner of the wall, and then basically I peeled off the back of it to the blue tack. Then I removed the blue tack from the whole thing, and then basically, because this was now anchored to the wall, I was able to roll it all the way back. 2 hints I will give you is: one, don't forget to remove any jewelry. I ended up removing my wedding ring before I did this, because mainly what you're going to end up doing is you're going to need both hands. You're going to basically just rub your hand along the seam line of the roll, so you'll have the backing rolled, and you'll have the front part rolled, and you basically will be just working your way back and forth down that line. What I did was I was slowly pulling the backing off the back scene while I moved it up and down. So basically had one hand pulling the back scene sort of backing as I was pulling it off, and then I had a seamless line. I was basically just doing this back and forth all the way down as I pulled the other section away. I did that all the way to the seam line, and like Dave over at Dean Park Station mentioned, you'd be hard pressed to find the seam line along that wall. He was also right, it's very unforgiving about any kind of marks, bumps, or anything on the wall. After I did this section, there was a tiny little bit of paint that you could see extruding through the sky. Now you can only see it if you get right up close to it, like maybe 2-3 inches from the wall. But what it made me do is actually made me go through the rest of the wall and basically pick off any kind of small fragments whatsoever, so it was completely smooth. And I'm talking like millimeters of a little paint bubble. So I got those off with a Stanley knife. There's only a couple of them. So once you find the first section, which is about 5 foot in length, I took the second one and did basically the same thing. Moved the blue tack back, lined it up with the seam, made sure the image was perfectly seamed. I lined it up with the top and worked my way down. It seemed to be the easiest way. And then I basically did the same thing, peeled the backing off, did about 2-3 inches to anchor it, took the blue tack off in the middle, pulled it back to the middle, took the blue tack off at the end, let it roll all the way up, removed the blue tack residue off the wall, and then did the same scenario, basically pulling the backing with one hand and then just moving your hand back and forth to level it out. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. I think maybe 4 times in the whole, doing the whole section, that I get kind of low bubbles, and all you have to do is pull the backscene very carefully back off the wall, reposition it slightly, and continue on. And any time that I did create a kind of a bubble, it was usually because I was just trying to work it a little bit too quickly. I can tell you that it is tricky to get the backscene started, so it's real tricky to try to get that, and it could be because I have no fingernails, but to actually get that plastic backing off the back of it was a bit of a challenge. I think out of the 20-25 minutes, I may have spent about 5 minutes trying to pick the backing off. Now, what was interesting, if I move around here, I think in the previous video I mentioned that the terraced houses seem to be thicker and heavier than the into the town scene, and the reason for that was the terraced houses had this kind of shiny, almost as thick as photo paper kind of backing, whereas the other one had this film backing. So there's 2 things I noticed. The film backing was a lot easier to adhere because this wasn't as thick, so it was a little bit easier to work with. The only downside to this film backing was that on both sections, when I got to about here, the method I was using, the backing would actually tear. So I'd be left with a section almost like a large triangle from about here all the way back to here that was still stuck to the wall, and obviously the self-adhesive wouldn't stick then. So what I ended up having to do was pull it back to about here, spend about 2 or 3 minutes trying to pick the the backing off the back scene, and then pull it all the way back, and then re-adhere that bottom section. Didn't cause me any problems. It was a little bit hair-raising because I didn't want to damage the back scene, but it was a bit interesting that 2 products from the same company that are supposed to be the same product basically had very different kind of backing to them. So with the terraced houses, what you'll notice is the houses here in the front, in the first section or second section, depending on how you're looking at it, these are actually smaller than the ones on the far side. So if I tilt the camera around, you can probably see there that as you go along, the houses get bigger. So what I wanted to do, so I have these low relief buildings right here in the back. I wanted to set it up so that it sort of made sense. So you can see here there's actually a pretty decent sized gap, and the reason I did that was, one, I wanted to keep it lined up along the top, and the fact that this particular baseboard I knew kind of goes down a little bit because the section on the right is a little higher, but it also allows me to use the scenery a little bit to make it look like the back of these houses is actually moving away from the railway line. So if you look at it, it kind of looks like with the low relief buildings here in the front, and the way it's kind of lifting up off of the baseboard a little bit, it actually looks like the houses are slightly moving away, and that creates a pretty useful visual effect, because when you get down to about here, when you're looking head on at these low relief buildings, it actually looks like that those buildings in the background are slightly further away. So that kind of worked out pretty well. I thought, again, you're pretty hard pressed to find the seam there between the two. I did notice that when you're looking at it from this angle, especially when the angle is steep, it does look like you can sort of make out some of the markings on the wall. There's a few imperfections in the wall, I think up here somewhere and over here, but it's very limited. You have to look at it at a very steep angle to pick it up. The trickiest part, I think, was trying to get this lined up, because the tree is actually down through the dead center. Now, one thing that I noticed was the back scenes, for these two back scenes, they actually had already cut the edge lines for you, but this particular edge line was right here was just not quite done right, so I ended up having to recut it so that it kind of seamlessly mapped over the tree here, and like I said, you'd be hard pressed to make out the seam line. So yeah, it looks pretty nice. Again, I did the same technique for adhering it to the wall as the other ones. However, because the backing was a lot thicker, I ended out, instead of blue tacking it all the way and sort of rolling it as I went along, what I did instead was I blue tacked it about here, and then I rolled it back to here, and I kind of stuck it here and moved it along. And one of the other things is, when you get about every 2 feet, I think, you really need a scissors to cut that backing, because it's just too thick, and it kind of makes it tricky to kind of work with. So I ended out every about 2 foot section or so, I take a few seconds and basically cut the backing that had kind of spooled up, and got that out of the way. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with it, and like I said in the previous video, we're going to do some sort of tunnel, a kind of raised section here, and that will basically hide the transition. And the clouds aren't too bad. You can see there is a bit of a transition, but when you shoot it from different angles, it doesn't look too bad, and it worked out pretty well. So we'll stick a tunnel section here, probably going this way as well as that way, and probably put some sort of buildings on the top, so that'll actually hide things like the solar panels, which probably look out of place if I'm shooting 1950s, 1960s steam, like one I do every so often. So we'll basically start the tunnel probably about here somewhere that hides that, and run it back to here, and the top buildings will hide the horizon differences and so on. I'll probably stick a wall along here. Probably going to set it at the height. It is, I think, the level crossing's about here somewhere, I think. So we'll run that wall all the way back from the low relief houses to the start of the tunnel, and that will hide that white section there. If I move the camera back this way a little bit, you can see I did decide on here to put the wall back in place. There was some elements, I think there's like a little walkway or something here, and it just didn't meet at the right height with the baseboard, so it kind of looked a bit weird. So put the wall back into place, and actually fixes the perspective down the end as well, so I was quite happy with that. So yeah, it didn't take too long. Like I said, there's 4 sections, and they took probably about 25 to 30 minutes a section, and after I got the first 2 done, I didn't have any problems. I did have to take that low relief building out. I originally thought I might be able to fit the back scene around it, and I was with the blue tack, but when you start peeling this off, there's just no way, so I had to remove the building. But I was able to put it back pretty easily. Alright, so that's not the only thing I did this weekend though, so let me go show you some of the other stuff. Okay, so as some of you probably realize, the double oorail layout is in my basement. And a couple of weeks ago, I think it was early to mid-August, this guy runs this channel called Anthony, and he has this channel called the Anthony B Railway, I think it is, and or Anthony Railway B, it's one of the two. He had this really cool idea about decorating your train room. So what I decided to do this weekend was basically repaint the walls. Now, I've lived in this house for over, I think, 11 years now, and so we needed to, hadn't been painted at all since we moved in, so the door was looking pretty grungy and the walls were looking pretty grungy, so went ahead and painted those white. I still need to put a second coat of paint on the stairs, but basically what I want to do with this section here is sort of make it sort of look like the entranceway to a railway station. You know, as you go down the steps, you know, a footbridge, or you go on a walkway into the railway station from up above. So one favor I'd ask is if anybody has any good photos or links to good photos of just basically showing the inside of railway stations. I'm not looking for huge, big, you know, panoramic views. I'm kind of looking for up close photos of things you might see on the walls. Particularly, it's hard to find is if photos of you know, when you're going down the footbridge or going across the walkways that are along the top of you know, bridges that went along the above track into the railway station, or you know, the kind of walkways down to the platform. So if anybody's got any photos like that or links to them, please stick them in the comments below. Basically, what I'm looking for is some ideas on you know, the paint scheme and so on. So what I did do was, if I unhook this here, was I picked up a couple of these kind of metal signs. So this first one here is a metal reprint of Scotland for your holidays, with the famous Forth Bridge, and has an A4 going across it. Another one that I got was the Brighton Bell, and then we have the Coronation Scot, and then there's this one here with Glasgow and Edinburgh, and you have like the Coronation Scot or the Coronation. And I plan on getting some more. I can see there had some. It's where there was a railing down here, and the guys who built the house didn't put it in, so I kind of patched that up a little bit. I didn't do such a good job of it, but I'll explain why in a minute. Beside here, I'm going to probably put another metal sign in here, but beside here, what I'm actually working on is I have a couple of working timetables, actual timetables that were used by British Rail for you know, their employees and internally. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up some notice boards. So I've got some photos of notice boards, but if you have any photos or links to British Rail era notice boards, please stick them in the comments so I can get a better idea. But the idea is that I'm going to go and basically build a wooden kind of notice board here, and maybe stick some timetables or some posters to it as well. And I may actually have enough room to do one or two, so as you're coming down the steps, you might be able to see some sort of information that you would see at a railway station. Now, if you give me a second, I'm going to go and move the camera over to the other side so you can see the other wall. So, on the other wall, what I've done here is I've actually framed a bunch of technical drawings that I bought off of eBay. So these are all of various Southern Railway locomotives. I think the top one there is a Merchant Navy. The next one down, I believe, is a Class H15. And then we have the Class S15, which you can now get from Hornby. And down the bottom here, we have the Class 700 that I recently picked up. So we'll be doing a bit of a review on that later. But let me zoom in, and you can get a kind of a closer look at some of these diagrams. They're pretty cool. They range from the late 1920s to the 1950s. Don't know if you can make out the stamp there or not. Yeah, you can see that one says 19th of December 1929. So these are pretty cool, and they weren't too expensive on eBay. They were a couple of pounds, and they made it quite a nice addition to the layout and to the room. And if I scooch the camera that way a little bit, you can get a better look at the S15 here. You can see it has all the dimensions and all that good stuff. And let's scroll up. So I did buy a couple of other things. I've got a Southern diesel shunter diagram as well, but it didn't fit quite into this frame. I think this is a 24 by 20 frame, if I think, or maybe it's 24 by 36. But the idea is that with this particular wall here, all the way up the wall here, I'm going to go and put various technical documents and images and so on. I did pick up a book of British Rail technical drawings, so I'm probably going to start scanning some of those in, printing them out, and then putting them on the frame on the wall or something like that. I also thought about sticking the limited edition certificates I have for various locos. Might stick those on the wall as well. But I just wanted to show you guys that, and kind of adds a little bit to the decor down here. And like I said, if you've got any images that can give me some more ideas, especially the notice board ones, I kind of want to get so much from Google and Flickr and places like that. But a lot of times if you ask folks, they actually are aware of other images or have images themselves. So what I'm looking for is basically, like I said, to make it look kind of like you're going down to a sort of a platform or into a railway station. So any kind of images that might help with that would be very appreciated. Alright, so I have one more thing to show you, and then we'll do a quick running session and wrap it up. Alright, so before we did a bit of a running session, and I tell you what we're doing for the next week or so, I thought I'd show you what I did over here this weekend. So we're here at the kind of control section of the layout. You can see we're in the new section layout. The back scene is over here. Also have my Bear Garrett sitting in the box here. You're going to see that pretty soon. But yeah, so we have our two duets like I had before. And what I decided to do was build a bit of an extra shelf here for the class 158 clocks. This is a clock I got it off of eBay of a class 158, and yeah, you can see it's 3:54 in the morning. Don't worry, I didn't stay up this late to shoot the video. I do have to shoot videos mainly at night because kids, cats, dogs make way too much noise during the day, so you can't really film down here during the day. But I got up early basically to shoot some video so you guys can take a look at what we did over the weekend. I was actually planning to shoot it a lot earlier in the evening, but I was watching television and fell asleep, so by the time I got up around 3ish this morning, I decided I'd go shoot some video for work. So yeah, so I built this shelf, but also took a leaf out of Mark over at Western Centurion channel. I didn't quite have enough wood to build a shelf, so I looked around, had some offshoots of plywood from the baseboard construction, and a spare bit 2x4. So basically put 2x4 there, stuck an off section there of plywood, and I was able to build this new shelf. And the reason I built this shelf was I wanted to relocate some of the controllers. So here we have the safety miner. It runs the down branch, and this one's actually on a bit of a longer cable. It's got an extra maybe 10-15 feet of cable, and the reason for that is I actually, over here to the left of me, I have a small kind of a platform. It's about 3.5 feet off the ground, and it's actually for my 2.5-year-old son to sit on or stand on, and he can see the whole layout from there. It's pretty good because he can look but not touch. He's a good, 5 to 8 feet away from the layout, so you can't actually touch it, but he can sit there and or stand there and watch the trains go around. And so I have this controller on a bit of a longer cable so that I can put it over there and let him play with it if he wants to join in. Also added the clipper. This is for the up branch. I haven't wired it in yet because I haven't quite finished the track work. I'm not part of the layout yet, but we'll get that finished hopefully this week, and then I'll wire this up. And then finally I relocated the old Triang Line Brothers Canada, I think it's a model PA 200C. That thing's ancient. It's a 2-amp dual controller. I use it to power the Triang part of the layout, the Super 4 track, and so it had been sitting up on the top of the baseboard. So if I move the camera back, it had been sitting I think over here somewhere. for quite a while. I think it was sitting over here. So it's been sitting there quite a while, but since I put the back scene up, it was sort of a bit of an eyesore, kind of getting in the way. So I relocated the control over here and ran some extra wiring. So now I can basically control all the trains in this part of the layout, all from this console. I might install kind of a panel here temporarily for controlling the point motors. Not quite sure yet. Need to figure that out. Alright, so we're just going to give you a quick rundown on what to expect from the rest of the month. So I've put an order in for the other back scenes to finish off this section of the layout in terms of the back scenes. So I'm not expecting those to show up until probably the end of the month. So that might be right at the end of the month or beginning of November before I get those in. It really depends on how long it takes for the mail to get here. I kind of wanted to order them sooner rather than later because I didn't want them getting mixed up with the Christmas rush with all the mail. So I think for the next week or so, I'm going to be working on finishing the track work of some of the up branch to finish. Also have a section of track at the back there, as well as a section of track to finish at the terminus station, and you guys haven't seen that in a while, so I want to try to get that track finished, and that will actually, with the exception of the TMD that's going here, we'll wrap up most of the track work that needs to be done. I'm working on the bridge, so there'll be an update for that pretty soon, as well as some how-to videos hopefully. I needed to order some more Plastistruct stuff because I think I'm going to scratch build and make that bridge unique. So not quite sure yet, but I'm pretty sure. So I ordered some Plastistruct stuff to see if my idea will work. I've been looking at quite a lot of bridge photos the last couple of days. I'm also going to start work on the signals. So I know I have to weather a lot of track and I have a lot of ballasting to do, but I'm not going to do that right now. Instead, I'm going to actually focus on the signaling. Rather than trying to add the signaling after I've ballasted and after I've weathered the track, I think what I'm going to do is actually try to do a lot of the signaling, especially on this section of layout, before adding those other scenic details. There are almost 100 signals that are going to go into this layout, and not just in this section but between both sections. And I may be redesigning the elevated bit a little bit here. I was had a couple of ideas over the last day or two that may give me a little bit of extra track and a little bit more unique kind of setup, so I need to see if that fits, and part of that was to mask that overlap with the back scene. So yeah, so that's basically it. So we'll do a quick running session, and I might throw some different locos out and let you have a look at those. Alright, so I'm going to go change around some of the locos and then get this rolling, and we'll give you guys a bit of a running session. But hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to the next update.